Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. Today's gunner site has a slightly new look. General Raj Shukla and General Harimohan Iyer couldn't make it, but we have Major General Rajiv Narayanan joining us. General Ravi Shankar, General Narayanan, welcome to P Guru's channel. How are you, sir?
Oh, thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Always a pleasure to be on your platform.
We are
So
having
the pleasure
a
is all. Yes, indeed. You're having a ball in Chennai. It's raining cats and dogs, literally, viewers. So both places, power could go anytime, but we're going to have fun as long as we can. Over to General Ravi Shankar. Let's get the balls to rolling.
Yeah, let's get the thing rolling, and we're going to talk of India's rise despite US and China and all that. But what I'll do is, the Asia Power Index came out by the Lowy Institute in Australia, and I thought, that's a nice benchmark from where we can start. Everyone has been speaking of that, but people have not understood what it contains. So I put a few highlights into it, and I added a few issues of my own. And I'll give a presentation maybe about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll discuss around that. And
Yes.
right, so let's get going. Can I have the presentation, please? Yeah, have a look. This is what we're going through. This is cyclone Ditwa, which it's here. This is the eye of the cyclone. This is the wind chart, and this is the rain chart, and this is Chennai. So heavy rain hitting Chennai tonight, but hopefully by tomorrow evening this will go off. But we're going to talk of India rising now. Well, as the cyclone keeps hitting Chennai, we'll talk of India rising, which is more important. Look, this is very clear. We are growing at 8.2%. In the second consecutive quarter, we are growing at 8.2%. Manufacturing is up 9.1%, services up 10.2%. This is hell of a lot. Okay, manufacturing up 9.2%, 9.1% is important. We have a lot of headroom going up in manufacturing. That's the first thing. What's interesting about this quarter growth is the fact that both China and US have been nasty to us, especially US. Despite decrease in exports to US, AWO, all that, we have grown at 8.2%. I mean, just think of it. If this had not been there, where would we? This growth probably would have hit 10%. So there's a vitality about India which you can't stop. And this comes on the back of the first quarter 8.2. Look, even if for the balance of the year, the next Q3, Q4, you hit only 6%, you will still average 7+%, which is much more than what the rest of the world is doing. And I'll talk of it a little later. Okay, now this is the some expression of sum total of what the Lowy Asia Power Index. Look at this. I don't know if it's visible, but it says US is number 1, China is number 2 at 70 odd per thing, and they've classified India. This is India. They've shown it in circles. They've classified India as a major power. It's not a middle power. It's not a superpower. India has been classified as a major power with the power index of 40. And it's going up. That's the important thing. Now, of course, followed by Japan, Russia, and all that. Okay. Now, let me go and highlight a few attributes which is important to understand. Why is India at number 3? Okay, globally. What are the issues which they've taken? They've taken economic capability, military capability, right? And resilience. Okay, future resources, economic relations, defense networks, right? And diplomatic thing and everything. Okay, so they have cultural influence. So these 8 factors have been factored in a manner they've deemed fit to draw out the power index. Important. Now, if I look at this a little more deeply, you look at this, okay? They've said economic capability, we are 3rd, military capability, we are 4th, resilience, we are 4th, future resources, we are 3rd. It's in economic relations and defense network, we are 9th and 11th. We're a little down in this. Okay? But the thing is, even in this, we are in a growing path. It's not in a going down path. Then, of course, defense networks, we are not up to it, and that's our national policy. So we'll never be there. Because we're not going to be allied with anyone. Diplomatic influence, we are fourth, and cultural influence, we are fourth. So you see, in every aspect of that 8 points, you're third, fourth, somewhere or there. Interestingly, what are the changes which have happened? Where have you gained most? You have gained in cultural influences. Interestingly, you have gained in military capability. This is important. You have gone up in the power index because of your military capability and your economic relationship. These are the two pillars on which India is rising. And this is what Rajiv and I have been talking of all the while. India can't be denied because we have changed the equations. Okay. And of course, the rest of the things. Where we lack is defense networks. We've gone down. But the fact is, we don't want to be part of an alliance. Our power doesn't come from our defense networks. So this is always going to be lesser or might even go down. Right? If anything, in the current multilateral global affairs, India will never have good defense networks, and we should not have also. We know how to handle things on our own. Okay. Geopolitical security. You are almost at par with China. Okay. US is far ahead, but geopolitical security almost there with China. And your demographic resources, India is the highest in the world right from now to 2050. China and US pale into insignificance. Okay. And you look at your military posture. Again, if China is at 100, this is Asian military posture, not global. If China is at 100, you're at 93, you're at par. Okay. A lot of people say, oh, China is modern and this and that, great power and all, but your military posture is at par. And this is important. And that is why the Chinese went back at, in Eastern Ladakh. Understand that. They know which is where. Okay. Right. Look at the armed forces. In terms of armed forces, in Asia, India gets the first billing as per this thing. That's what. It's nice to say China this, China that, and all. Our armed forces are rated higher than the Chinese or the US armed forces in this area. There has to be some logic in this. I'm not gone into why, how, but that's their logic, that's their thing. Okay? Yeah. One area where we need to improve is technology. We are far down. We are here. You're 11. Our technology bubble is hardly significant. So there's a lot of headroom to improve in technology. That's why technology manufacturing is good. Just think, our manufacturing grew at 9% and technology we lag. Put these two together and you'll see a different India coming up. And that's the future. And I focus on, what John Spencer wrote in his article. This article is called End of Old Assumptions, What India's Security Paradigm Actually Looks Like. What does he say? Main thing. And this is something which, again, we've spoken, but I need to reiterate it. And I'm sure Rajiv will also talk of it. India has crossed a doctrinal threshold. Major attacks are now considered as acts of war. Zero tolerance to terror and proxy war. No external mediation. This is our new doctrine. We don't need external mediation. Even if it is going to be detrimental to us, like, the aftermath of it, like we've spurned Trump off. Okay. Our approach to treaties has changed. The Indus Water Treaty or the Shimla Agreement, these are no more treaties which bind us. These treaties are there. If others don't behave or take advantage of the treaties, they're null and void. People have to understand that. We have started excising deliberate nuclear ambiguity, both by virtue of inducting new weapon systems and also by our talk. Look, a major issue which we have started. Why I'm saying is this is one, our military power is our anchor of our power index or that power rating. Security has to be, obtained by India, not through others. We don't want others to come and help us. Gone are the days when we said we look towards USA to say, oh, can we start a war? Sorry, whether US or China, it doesn't matter. Anyone talks, you hit him and then talk. We've written a new playbook. And what John Spencer says is the world needs to catch up. A world needs to catch up not in terms of starting a war, but how you terminate a war. It's easier to start a war, but more difficult to terminate it. This is what I said. Your economic engine, which is growing, this is, CEO of Blackstone. He compares all of the countries. You can look at all the countries, flags are there, Spain, Europe, all that. They are hardly growing at 2.5%. You are growing at 7.3% as per him, as per at that point of time. Today it is much more than that, actually. And in this video, it's a video which I'm not showing. He talks of India's infrastructure which is growing at pace. And this is echoed not by one, by many people. Equally, we hear a lot of nonsense coming, our infrastructure is useless and all from US and Chinese sources. Okay? Especially this left-wing mainstream media which is, which dominates US, like New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg. But people who are on ground know that infrastructure is changing at pace. In fact, there's an Israeli who said, look, the India I saw 3 years back is something I can't recognize today. That's the pace of change. Right? Age, demography, which is one of the major things which I spoke of and which is there in that power index. Look, of the 20 countries, top 20 economies, ours is the lowest median age. China has got an age of 40 years median. Now, 5 years hence it will go to 50. Just 5 years hence it is going to shift to 50. China is going to be a country of old people. USA can keep up its age profile because of immigration. But Trump is doing enough to sort that out also. In 5 years, I bet you that USA or no USA, China or no China, the same Asian power index will talk a dramatic set of new numbers. Age and time on our side, not on theirs. Okay. The rest of the countries there are actually should puts. But you'll see them sliding back even faster. That's why I keep showing this. The number of countries with which we have done trade deals or we are in talks with trade deals. I keep showing this almost in every program. It's phenomenal. How many countries are doing this? Willingly, they are coming to India. It's not that we are going there. Okay. Right. So I thought I'll put all these across. And we also have to understand one thing about, thank you, we don't need the slides anymore. One more important thing which we need to understand is that, look, as far as USA and China are concerned, both are sluggish economies today. They're not in great, in fact, they have internal problems. Their militaries have internal problems. If one thing they agree on is that how to stymie India's growth. And they've done it actively, whether it's Trump or Xi Jinping. I mean, look at Xi Jinping and company. They have refused to give us tunnel boring machines and things like that. They have now an active policy to ensure that we don't get technology. They want our markets, but without giving any technology. Right? And they treat us today as a major competitor. Many of us in India don't have the self-awareness that, look, we are now in a different league altogether. Well, this is not to say that we don't have problems. We have tremendous problems. Okay. But one thing I keep reiterating, we are not an aided economy like Japan, Germany, and China were in their rise. We are an opposed economy. We are growing at this pace despite headwinds, despite global headwinds. And this is not going to change. Our problems are not going to run away. There are enough people within this country who talk ill of what is happening. Well, that's a democratic right. But at some point of time, it's going to be counterproductive to those fellows, not to the people who are growing. And that's the majority of this country. I thought I'll put all these across. And back to you, Shreyaji, I'm sure Rajiv and you, I would like your comments also on this as to how we are going. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. General Rajiv, I would like you to go in now, and then maybe I can have my inputs after that. Over to you,
Yeah.
sir.
So there are a few issues which I will tag, about 7, 8 of them. What he told about John Spencer. So what they have started calling it, the Western experts, I would say, that India has moved away from strategic restraint to doctrine of compellence.
Yes.
That you do anything, I am going to slap you so hard that you will be on your knees. That is why you get reports that while Pakistan is being pushed by both US and China to create internal issues, they are trying to look towards our east, to East Pakistan 2.0. But there is a problem they have there. Pakistan is used to utilizing its non-state actors. Now we call it state-owned actors. Since it was formed, I won't call it independence of Pakistan. That is actually the formation day of Pakistan. There was no Pakistan before that. From that time onwards, the use of state-sponsored actors has been in evidence, even in attack on Kashmir at that time, 47, 48. So they have a certain degree of muscle memory to do this. Unfortunately, the people who they're trying to tap on the eastern side have no muscle memory about it. They have no clue of how to go about doing it. And they're not able to understand and grasp how it is done. It's not so simple. Unless he starts sending his state sponsored people into that country to try from that side, which is going to be a big issue. So that is why you find trying to sponsor it internally, using their sleeper cells and other people inside. Next was the mention about infra. 2, 3 things. A, infrastructure like the BRI, which was made just for their sake and had nothing to do with it. The whole infrastructure is being driven by a logical plan. It's an integrated plan as to where your factories are going to come, where are you asking these foreign companies to come, to give them that infrastructure grid. Now, the problem with making infrastructure is always that it takes time to start earning money and become profitable. So for that period, for your banks, it becomes an NPA. I wonder how many of us know that there is a new financial instrument that the government had established. It's called NABFID, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development. It has a capped capacity kept at 1 lakh crores. At the moment, it is already having 20,000 crores and growing. They are the ones who fund bulk of your infrastructure development, and that is why you are able to take it apace. And so when you're making it to a proper plan, like it also includes your Sagarmala, where your ports are supposed to come. So if your port comes, but if your road connectivity, rail connectivity are not there, and the balance of the energy grid is not available to him, energy, water, and everything, then what do you do with that port? So it's all being made to a plan, and that is why people are aghast at the pace at which you're doing, and companies are welcome to come, are happy to come here. So I'll touch upon it a little later. Economy, I wouldn't quite agree with what Lovi has said because of the number of trade deals. So I actually don't know where the cutoff point was. So at what level did they take the cutoff point? When they make the report, maybe 5, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months before, you have a cutoff point. So that's okay. But today you've gone much, much, much further, and which is indicative of your both quarters. The first quarter was 7.8, this quarter is 8.2. And I'll touch upon why the IMF is rating you C and saying you will take 4, 5 years to get to 3, 4 years to get to 5 trillion. You're already at 4.3, and for 700 million, he says it that much. I'll touch on that a little later. But the most important change, apart from the trade deals, because see, in the tariff war, suddenly both US and China are realizing that nobody is talking much to them. Everybody is talking within themselves, and they're talking to India. Full stop. Now, that is the biggest threat for them, because they had felt that people would start coming and talking to them, which has not happened. The second issue, which is very important, is the spreading footprint of your UPI. You see, some basic issue happens is that if you have a fiat currency and it fails, then the thing collapses. So the basic cycle has been combined. Like, you militarily dominate, you control trade, and you impose your fiat currency over all the area that you have. And to retain that, you overspend, and then your deficit spending and living beyond your means happens. After that, the currency debasement is your printing of extra currency. You can do that. US broke it away from the gold in 71 to be able to print that extra currency. But then that has its life. 4, 5 decades down the line, the currency starts losing its sheen. And when you try to weaponize that currency, people start losing confidence and search for alternatives. Now, this is the stage at which US is, where people have suddenly started losing confidence. The biggest jolt to US has been that Europe has lost confidence. Now, the international transaction, let us say today, India and Europe, goes through SWIFT. So people need to understand the SWIFT concept. SWIFT, that is that, what is that called? Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. It goes through US. So you're going to do it in dollars. Now, why are the people worried? Because A, my bank takes commission. The US bank, as an intermediary, takes for commission. And it goes to Europe, and whatever bank in that country is there for handling charges, they will also take. Now, when it is me and Europe, why is US coming in and profiting from that? Why is the bank profiting from that? That is where the UPI comes in. So you are working towards a goal where proper multipolarity, no country's currency will be the prime currency. So in this, you have signed up to the Bureau of International Settlements had started work on what is called the Project Nexus. The Eurozone, and now spread to most countries of Europe, have got the target TIPS payment system, interface payment system, which works through their SEPA. Now you are linking, it has already been signed in October last year. Pilot project is about to start, where you're linking our UPI to their TIPS via Project Nexus. Now, why Project Nexus? Because it is the BIS which gives out the daily currency exchange rate. So automatically, digitally, it goes there. Now just look at how threatened US is going to feel, which indicates clearly, last year, October, they have come to you that Europe has lost faith in US. Now, whatever transaction I'm going to do, once it opens out, they are talking in terms of Next year, sometime it will open out. 40 countries are going to join up. So I would say 39 because France has already joined your UPI. 40 countries, and already 18 countries are already there. 9 who have shown interest, which is going to be not 9, about 16 more. That means close to 100 countries are already going to connect to you, and thereafter the African countries, it will spread. So the US banks, the 4 big US banks who are making money on this SWIFT transaction will no longer be able to make any money. So the multipolarity is this. It is not just that you have various groups who are there as a multipolar geopolitically. Geoeconomically also there is no fiat currency. Now that hurts the US maximum. Unfortunately for China, without military dominance, he tried to take control of trade and trade routes in the lesser developed societies, countries through BRI. That's collapsed. So he couldn't even reach, and he created massive trade surplus, which we called overcapacity, for sale to Europe and USA, with whom he took a panga. That he's left holding the baby, which is the trade surplus. And that is where it was, where his economy has taken a big hit. So he didn't even go through the various levels. He's trying to change, but you have actually flipped the playbook completely. Now, in this, the moot question, I would like anyone economist, you are there, sir, and anyone else who's hearing, if this flows out by 2027, hopefully almost about 150 countries will be linked to UPI. That means you are trading in local currency. In what form will you hold your foreign exchange?
Very true. Very true.
That's the moot point. So that is where the US is declining. China never even rose before it declined. Now, demography. Why are they worried about your demography? It is because, and very correctly, he has given you the top ranking in that, because of the skill development. So the base skill is available. Anyone coming in, he doesn't need to give you the base skills. He just builds on this, and within 2-3 months, the person is ready. By the time the factory actually sets up, the person is ready. As far as technology is concerned, the biggest place where we are lacking, when he has shown us at number 11, I would tend to agree with that, in the sense that you are brilliant in pure science. You're woefully short in applied science. And even today, like, your companies will say, no, a person coming from IIT, other technical institutes and other places is not trained properly. Well, the good sir should know that they should tell the institute what they want the person to be trained and come out. If he's coming at MTech, why don't they give the projects that I want him to be trained on this? Why don't they interact with the institutes for the syllabus for applied science portion? They don't do that. Right from the beginning, you have been socialistic. The government has been dictating. Now suddenly you're free. It will take its time, but I'm sure it will happen. But in a small way, it has already started, and I'm sure it will go further. So the basic problem US and China, US is facing, I won't rate China with that, because it's an autocratic society. Now it has become, and they control their business houses, and without the clearance from the state, you can't do anything. But in the US, you suddenly find that the politicians and the US incorporation and Wall Street are not on the same page. The US incorporation and the Wall Street are gung-ho, and they want to come to India and invest in India. And the US politicians, I'm afraid, have not yet grasped the issue that, well, till the 90s and early 2000s, you may have been a big part, which is where I would not agree with the Lowy Institute that US and China are superpowers. I would rate them as big powers. To be able to have and influence the globe, you need the military heft. And if the US is going to think on 5, 6, 7, but how much? Almost about 5 months now on what to do with Venezuela, unthinkable. Last century, they would have gone in by now. They are hesitating still. Now he's threatening him, leave, leave. Why will he leave? Why will Maduro leave? You have your aircraft carrier out there. You're saying, I am imposing a airspace denial, but are you able to control the airspace? Aircrafts will still overfly Venezuela if they have to go from USA or Mexico to Brazil. Are you denying them that? Do you have the capacity to do that? If you don't, and if you're hesitating, ditto with China. With smaller countries, you can press them down, but at the larger issue, at the global issue. So, which is that one point I would say that they are big powers. Yes, you can't keep that apart. They are big powers. Maybe declining, but they are big powers. And I don't think the world today, which is where the disservice is being done, because the world today has no superpower. Unfortunately, the world today has no superpower. They are big powers only. And the earlier the Americans realize that the politicians, the better for America. Because I'll end with what Lee Kuan Yew's son, the previous Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, had mentioned in July this year. World minus one. That the world can live without US. The US has to decide, can they live without the world? And which is where the biggest question which is facing the USA today. Because suddenly if your UPI connectivity and everything starts off, you're already with the global south, the amount of monies that you're giving to the global south, and I missed out in that, NABFID has now today been authorized to do the infrastructure and development activities in global south. This is over and above the lines of credit to the tune of about, like Africa has got 12 billion over 146 projects which the countries wanted, spread over 42 countries, which is amazing considering that Africa has about 54 countries. You touching that. Latin America, you have given about 800 plus million with similar about 30-40 letters of credit to about 7-8 countries out there. South Pacific, people may not know, the South Pacific Islands, you have given out about 1.2 billion for again about 40-50 projects to the various small countries which are there, which I won't say only South Pacific, which includes Mauritius, Seychelles and all. It comes under the name of Oceania. And then now you have given this. Now this is an open challenge which is coming firstly to China. They had pushed for the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank. So one is that, ADB itself, World Bank itself. Now because of these threats, I feel Bretton Woods institutions being based in USA, the politicians have twisted the arm of IMF to say that you are at sea. Now just imagine the only country in the world in this half, if you add the two and divide it by two, both the 2 quarters growth, you are growing at 8%. 7.8 and 8.2 is 16. You're growing at 8%. And the clowns in IMF are saying that you are C and you will take time to grow. So I look at it, that was more of a political statement. And suddenly your 8%, 8.2% growth is like a stinging slap on their face. And which is where today suddenly you find the narrative wars of different types of GDP growth and this GDP growth and that GDP growth and this model and that model. Oh, handsome, where were those when China was growing at, you claiming a 10% growth? Where were all those models going? So these activities will happen. These narratives will come. But despite this, like General Shankar had correctly pointed out, and we keep telling in our shows also, you are growing despite them, not because of them. And that is where they feel very concerned that they don't have any issue available on which to twist your arm. Like China said no to TBM, the German country is shifting, German company is shifting everything here and making it for you. And he's going to make it in India. So, because these, sir, your top hedge funds like Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, let's grant them, they're not fools. They've been minting money. They turnaround is in trillions and trillions of dollars. They've closed shop in China and come and set up your biggest shops in India. So they know something which I think the politicians and in their geopolitics are missing. So I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, indeed, America could definitely do with a few statesmen. Unfortunately, the few statesmen that I can see in America are people that probably will not get elected to become the president. And there's an individual, I don't know, you may have heard of him. His name is Senator Rand Paul, Randpaul. Is a practicing surgeon. He's also a senator. I think his dad was a senator from the same area and same state, and now he's a senator. He's a Republican, but he doesn't go with the mainstream, but he has his own ideas. Truly an intellectual, and America still doesn't really look at him as somebody who is worth listening to. And there are also some other intellectuals. America is also beginning to realize that the so-called Tam Brams are beginning to really set the discourse. I don't know how many of you do have, or viewers also, you follow Balaji Srinivasan. This guy was the founder of Coinbase. He was a CTO for some time. I think now he's settled in Singapore, but he regularly comes on many podcasts, and he has defined a new world order. I don't know how many of us have really understood what he's trying to say. The effect of internet network on how countries perform. And these are all intellectual voices. Whether it was Vivek Ramaswamy's idea to implement DOGE, Department of Government Efficiencies. And then, of course, he said that, okay, I don't think to have much room here. They decided to go to state politics, and Elon Musk took over. Then Elon had to leave because, according to him, he said that the Doge was also helping about 10% Republicans and 90% Democrats, all the slush funds. The 10% was strong enough to push him out. See, this is reality. I mean, there are some good people who can do some things for US, but at some point of time, hard politics takes over. So US is also beginning to grapple with also the other reality that 90% of their equipment, military equipment, the parts are all sourced from China. So if China draws a line, just like the way they did with rare earths, I mean, it's bye-bye time. And they need to really, really start looking at India seriously to start doing some of these must-have arms and ammunition as base to do it in India. Whereas US hasn't realized it, France has. Saffron is going to be built 100% in India. So we have to really start looking. America needs to, not listen to the, especially the Trump inner circle needs to start listening to people like P. Gurus. We are telling you the reality. We don't have any sides here. I'm an independent. I'm neither a Republican nor a Democrat. I see it, I say it. Listen to what we are trying to tell you. I mean, US needs to really get its act together. Now I'm hearing Germany also is going to issue or work with some very high-end arms and armaments with India. So things are really, really beginning to move. Europe realizes that it can no longer place its faith in the United States. And that's why there is so much coming from there. So US has to really introspect. Unfortunately, the people who are capable of doing that are not getting the ear of the president. All we can do is, like I said, be like a thermometer and say that the patient has fever. United States definitely has a fever today. I'll defer back to General Ravi Shankar. Sir, you wanted to add something, General Rajiv?
Yeah. Look, what Rajiv says is absolutely right. I have no doubt about it. But let's focus it slightly from a different angle. You know, the world is changing, and the world is changing at pace. Okay. When you say it's not a superpower anymore, what is a superpower? I mean, let's look at it. You have to understand that. Then you'll see where what Rajiv is saying is right. A superpower is one power which can lay the rules, enforce the rules, and people listen to it. You know, who listens today to China? Who listens to USA? They listen. A chap who's got even Pakistan doesn't listen to China. Look at that. And, and the influence of both these countries is reducing. It's nice to put them in all these think tanks, all that, to say that both these are superpowers because a lot of money is sunk into both these places and they can't, overnight unmake these superpowers. But the fact is, their influence is decreasing. What they say doesn't carry that kind of weight anymore. As simple as that. No one is interested in just listening to them. Right? I mean, just think today the number of wars which are going on, whether it is in Russia, Middle East, East Asia, Africa, are so many, and not a single superpower talks of how to finish them. In fact, these superpowers are the causes of wars. So, why should anyone listen to them? Why are people trying to get away from both of these? So, the age is changing, time is changing. In this change, where will they go? After all, people have to trade with each other. I just heard today Mike Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, saying, he says, look, the age when we had uh, the single market called USA, where we sent our lumber, where we sent our aluminum, where we sent our goods, is over. We have to start living with the rest of the world. We have to stop living with USA as our sole, uh, you know, trading neighbor or trading partner. That's a big shift, and that's going to impact USA. Look at what's happening in China. China's peaked is not an issue. What is China doing in its spat with Japan? It's reviving Japan. People say Japan is old, the fundamental fact is Japan is still a very large economy with a very great high GDP or a PPP, right? And you, or rather, I would say PPP per capita. Per capita. It's got technology, it's got everything. And if Japan gets into the act as it is getting into the act, geopolitically, China will get stuck in one corner of where it is, and that's the end of the story. Already, China always had four fronts. It had the Korean front, it had the Taiwanese front, it had the South China Sea front, and the Indian front. Today, it's added a fifth front to itself in Japan, along the Raikus and the Senkakus. So, the thing is, both these big countries are changing at pace, and they're changing at pace in the declining direction, and they can't recover. They're not going to recover at ease. They'll not. They will still be big economies. They'll still be powerful countries. There's no doubt about that. But they'll not, be that kind of powers which they were once. Now let me come to India. What does India have to worry about? You see, I'd like to see what does India have to worry about. The danger for India comes from Pakistan. Why? Because America and US, China will use Pakistan as the cat's paw. Will Pakistan affect us militarily? That is a no-brainer. We've already slapped them hard in Sindhu. Problem is they'll create instability in this country. Pakistan has that capability of creating instability in this country. Let's not look at Pakistan as only a military challenge. It's a societal challenge. And we have to handle that. Defeating Pakistan and all that is emotional. But for me, protecting India's growth is more important. So whatever is going to come from Pakistan, whether it's military, whether it is spillover of refugees, whether it is activating the internal links they have in India, and they have, let's not wish it away. Whether it is reaching across to Bangladesh and, like he said, East Pakistan 2.0 or Pakistan 2. Whatever you call it, Bangladesh. Instability is something which will, could destabilize us. And of course, ours is an open democracy. It's a porous democracy. I wouldn't call it even open democracy. That's the danger. So we have to look at it from that point of view. That's the conventional come unconventional. But when you look at it from a strategic point of view, who's the one who poses danger to you? China. Because if India grows, it's at China's expense. India might not grow at US expense. In fact, to a large extent, sooner or later, someone in USA will wake up and say, yeah, look, India and USA are complementary to each other. As Canada is trying to prove and EU seems to have realized. So let's also start switching. US has that capability of switching tracks. You have to give it to US that it has the dynamism. Okay, Trump will be there for 2-3 years more and he'll go. The new guy, like you said, someone will come up. USA has this habit of restituting itself and throwing up good people who will reform USA in a different mold altogether. And that's the way USA has been reinventing itself, right? So USA is not my threat. My major threat to growth, not military, is China. It's China which has got the scale to put spokes in your whole story. It is China which has actually got the thing where it can hurt your manufacturing. It is China which has the capability of flooding your markets out. And that is what we have to go be very clearly. And our government is making some effort to reach out to China to invest. Right? That's the threat. How you handle that is important. Right? How you take measures to ensure that China and its thing doesn't swamp us is the thing which we have to worry about. In terms of lack of technology, what Rajiv says is right. We need to get to applied technology, but we need not be impatient about it. I'm not worried beyond a point. You need to be patient. Anything you do in a hurry will come down in a hurry, like China has realized. Growth of big countries like us shouldn't happen overnight. We are not in competition with China. We are in competition with ourselves. We need a better India, not a stupid China replicated in the form of another India. Right? So I think there are a lot of challenges as we go ahead. Our rise is preordained. I maintain it. No one can stop this rise of ours. Okay? You can't stop 1.4 billion hardworking people achieving what they want to do. And what, again, General Rajiv said is very important. People are qualified. Today there's an aspiration. We feel it. Both of us feel it. We interact with kids. It's not just IITs. We interact with kids across the horizon. We interact with think tanks. We interact with audience, the public through these forums. Right? We get the feel. The feel is the pulse. The pulse of the nation says, look, we want to move ahead. I mean, let me give you go by any aircraft today. Just go by any aircraft in India, Indian carrier. You will find at least 50% of the air hostesses are from the Northeast.
Yes.
Okay? It represents a change. And if you notice, they deliver better. They serve better. Okay, and they are changing Northeast. You go to the services in any major metro service sector. Slowly, the number of people from the Northeast are dominating that sector. So they're going to grow the Northeast at scale. Combine this with our Brahmaputra project and the Northeast Power Grid project, which are going. So sooner or later, through the route of the service sector, money is going to go back into the Northeast. Education is going to go back into the Northeast. Power generation is going to increase in the Northeast. In 5 years, industry is going to come up in the Northeast.
Guwahati has the fab factories.
We have fab factory. Your rare earths are going to come up in the Northeast. That's there where it is in the same belt as Myanmar. You get the best graphite in Northeast, in Arunachal. Why do you think China wants Arunachal? Look, today China dominates graphite in the world. I have no doubt. Let's not have doubt about it. But the better quality of graphite, the best quality of graphite is in Arunachal. Right? And as developments take place, your own resources will get tapped. Again, the danger here is don't spoil your ecology. Don't do things which will harm yourself like China has already done. Okay? So these are the challenges. Our challenges are not pure growth. Our challenges are sustainable growth. Our challenges are to ensure that the weakest man in this country has a decent way of life. Our success is dependent on the weakest man or the poorest man in this country. It's not Ambani and Adani being richer. I'm not for one moment saying that we should go the communist route. But even in an open society, a lot of socialism is necessary to bring up our younger people or the weaker sections. And that can be done through education and a lot of things. So I think we have to understand, where we are heading and how we have to change. Right? I had this much. Yeah, back to you, please.
Thank you so much, sir. A few minutes ago, I may have. 1 second, sir. 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago, I think I heard you say restituting. I think you meant resuscitating. I may have heard wrong.
Even restituting and resuscitating have the same connotation. You restitute back to your state. No, look, let me explain. We are restituting back to our original form. What is restitution? A ball, I'll explain it in a simple manner. A squash ball, when you hit it against the wall, what happens? It flattens. And then it restitutes itself and gains speed. That's what's happening with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to know if I heard you wrong. Over to you, sir. General Rajiv.
Yeah, just basically 2 points. One is that why are you such an attractive market globally? Because you have over close to 68% of your GDP comes from internal consumption. So which is telling, because if any company comes and sets itself up here, it knows that at least he is assured, if he is competitive enough, he is assured around 60 to 68% of his items being sold here, and he only needs to look at about between 32 to 40% for exports, out of which even if he gets 50%, he is gung-ho that well over 70% of my product has been sold. The balance I can knock it off in sale. So that is the reason why they are gung-ho, because that is the kind of internal consumption you are bringing to the table, which is at par with what US has. Despite India not living in the credit way, most of us live in the debit way, use debit card and not credit card. That is one singular point which makes this market so attractive. So I missed the second point. When I get it back in my mind, I'll come back to you.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Viewers, let's take a few questions from you. General, it might run a little bit over time.
Yeah, I got that. Which is,
yes, sir.
what Gen Shankar was actually mentioning about weaker section of the society means that you want to reduce the income disparity as much as possible. So you don't go the China way where there still exists a drastic income disparity. So a lot of people will not understand, think, why are we saying this? Companies are not coming. Companies are not coming to the metro and tier 1 cities. A lot of companies are quietly going and setting shop in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And that is where, when I said your infrastructure is to a plan, you want to tier 2, tier 3, the rural areas to develop further. That can develop further and income disparity reduces by having infrastructure in these places. It reduces the load on the metro cities also. Your civic load on metro cities is also down. When people say that migration is taking place from rural areas, no, most of the rural area now you find the bulk of the migration is coming to tier 3, tier 4 and tier 2 cities. They're getting jobs closer home. Now that has started. I don't for a moment say that they're not coming to the bigger cities. They will come, but that has started as a process. And like Gen Shankar had correctly pointed out, that these changes take time. It is not a switch like you switch it on and switch it off. When the process starts in the coming 5, 6 years, 10 years, you will find the difference. Once people start getting job closer home, he won't come running away because he gets a similar quality of life, maybe slightly less, but a similar quality of life in tier 2, tier 3 and tier 4 cities. Why will he want to run to a metro city or a tier 1 city? So that is the change also which is taking place. So these were the 2
Thank you
points.
so much, sir. I just wanted to explain the title, Miles to Go Before I Sleep. That's the part where India has to...
See,
sir, go ahead,
we were both in Mao the other day. Earlier when I was posted in Mao, when you drove from Mao to Indore, you could see the gaps between the villages. You had Rao, you had Umaria, and you had one more village, and before you hit Indore. Today, you won't even know when you left Indore when you're hitting Mao. Only if you see the board, you say, oh, this is this village. That is the level of infrastructure development that has taken place in all these places. And these are tier 2, tier 3 cities. So the rural people are coming there to start to work there because he's getting his job there.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, sir. Let's take some questions now. Amitesh wants to know, General Shankar, you said in one of your recent broadcasts that we don't harness our own technology. What is the reason?
See, it's very simple. We've not had, the Britishers broke this idea of making your own technology. If you go back before, the Britishers came, before the colonial era, we used to be very good at our own technology. And I'll highlight it. You go to, temples like the Brigadiswara temple in Tanjavur, go to Ajanta Ellora, go to all these places. I'm just naming 2. I can name 100 more. Go to all these caves, Elephanta, War. See the engineering there. See the technology they've used there. See the metallurgy they used there. You see how seafarers went out. After all your Cholas, Cheras, Pandavas, who went to Angkor Wat and built, temples and all. That doesn't come without knowing technology. We had technology. You go to Somnath. There's a pillar in Somnath. Okay? And that pillar is very old. And you go there and you see there's an inscription over there at the bottom. It says from here, if you see in this direction, there's a straight, unhindered line to the South Pole. I don't know how. It's an unhindered line where it doesn't touch any landmass. I didn't know this. Right? Unless you go there, you don't realize this kind of technology and thinking was there at that time. These Goris and Ghaznavis came and just looted our country and went, followed by this, Clive and company who came and ensured that our technology was destroyed. right? You go and a guy educationalist like Macaulay came and destroyed our education. You might find a lot of problems with our thinking, all that. But the fact is, colonial and Islamic period, you know, killed our technology. And we became technology dependent. Our thinking or teaching was not of applied technology or inventing technology. That is coming back now. Will it happen in your lifetime? Definitely in my lifetime, it won't be there. I am very sure. It won't happen in your lifetime also, Amitesh, or maybe in your grandchildren's lifetime. But maybe 3 generations, 4 generations later, we'll get our technology back. I don't know how many of you know. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little time because I think this is a very important thing for everyone to understand. There's a river called Tamaraparani. Tamarabarani in Tamil Nadu, along somewhere near Vaigai, south. If you see, that place had copper deposits, and that area fully had the best copper metallurgists in that era. And you see temples around that are all copper-based temples. That technology is not available anywhere in the world today. It's gone. Okay, and so we have to rediscover that. It will take time. This is not going to happen overnight. We have to rediscover our technologies in our own culture, and it is there. It is lying in front of us in open sight. Till that day, we can do that. I'm not now talking of being a religious guy, all that. I'm talking technology. You look at our temples, our classic temples. They're actually technological marvels, or whatever. So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And the name says it all. Tamaraparani, Tamarapatra means a copper plate. So the name itself, the river says that it was rich in copper deposits. Thank you so much, sir. That was a wonderful revelation. I think Tamaraparani is one of the only live river in Tamil Nadu, meaning like the water always flows 12 months a year. Yeah. Well, we have damned it now, but Alok Paratha wants Parathe. Sorry about that. General Ravi Shankar, this is General Rajiv's question. Yes. West has no money, yet Great Britain and Euro now are 16% stronger than the US dollar. India rising, but INR slid 6% further against weak USD. Why?
You tend to keep your rupee weaker with the dollar so that it encourages export and doesn't encourage import. You tend to pay more. That is one of the factors. As far as the GDP is concerned, GDP and you are 16% stronger than USD. That would be their method of, because they also do their imports quite a lot, so that they are able to attract better imports. But West actually has no money. There would be reasons for them to start. See, nobody gives. If you do a charting of the GDP growth rate versus what the GDP is being given and what kind, why you're planning to show your currency stronger than the dollar. There are many countries who cook their GDP, don't give accurate GDPs. India is not amongst them. Used to be earlier, because only if your GDP was at a particular level, you were able to get financial aid from IMF. So for that, you used to keep it a little low till the 90s. After that, you stopped that. Now, the pound and euro, if they make their currency stronger than the dollar, they're hoping that they'll earn a little bit more.
People they are issuing higher return on rate bonds.
So people will buy their bonds. That is the whole issue. They actually don't have money.
Yeah. Alok, there's also another counter argument to this. Go back to how George Soros made his first billion by shorting the pound. And just look at how high they raise the interest rates at that point. This is giving us an indication that all is not well with the British pound and the euro.
And the
I've done Euronext. I've done a program called Euronext. Viewers, take a look at that. Everything that I have been saying and doing for the last 12 weeks or so by way of monologue, they're all pointing to the same thing. Why there is going to be a huge financial crisis, you'll understand from looking at those things. Sorry to beat my own drum, but every time I see this,
you're very right. Actually, there's desperation level to that somebody will buy the treasury bonds and they'll get some money in hand.
Yes. Next question, please. Ritvik Patra wants to know, General Ravi Shankar, this is for you, sir. What happens if we take civil-military fusion into a larger dimension?
Look, I wouldn't like to go there so far. Let's start it. We are in the beginning stages of civil-military fusion. Let's come to at least 50% before we say what will happen when we go to a higher level. So I wouldn't like to second guess what's going to happen in future when we have not started also.
Thank you, sir. General Rajiv, this is for you. Akash Tadani wants to know, future wars would necessarily have cyber tools embedded at the tactical and operational levels. But before all that, have we secured the data, financial profile of the citizens?
See, you are on the verge of doing that and you are stepping towards that direction. Your Data Privacy and Data Protection Act, which has come out, DPDP Act, is a step in that direction. The whole lot of data centers that you're establishing all over India, wherein all these data is going to be and will be protected by the DPDP Act. So that gives you this. And how much, see, General Shankar and I have always been saying, firstly, at every level, whether it's at the lowest level and as you keep rising, the amount of technology that is required at every level is different. You may need more at the higher level, not as much. Because when you come to the tactical and the lowest level, only give that technology which the man can imbibe and understand and apply well and win you the war. You give him something and he's not able to imbibe that and he can't win the war for you, that is useless. But at every level, because of the training levels have increased, more and more training has been done. As you go up higher level within the armed forces, the level of technology that you need will be there. As far as quantum computing is concerned, AI, of course, is a good helps you in speedy decision making today. Repetitive tasks can be given to them. Cyber, yes. And quantum computing, quantum communication, yes, it's a very important thing. Recent exercise in Southern Command, which we had done around South Rajasthan and up to Sir Creek, about 500 kilometers of fiber optic based quantum communication was validated. So quantum communication is quantum key distribution, which comes with its own cryptography, encryption value, because each photon gets that encryption automatically in the quantum key distribution. And then you have something which you have not given here, I'll tell you, it's called post-quantum encryption. So that why is it post-quantum? Because within the quantum itself is encryption and you put one more layer of encryption. That is why it is very tough today to take it away. So even the armed forces are going in for a whole lot of data centers and everything. So that is why you find today it is very difficult for you to get information in the open domain, to hack something and get something out. It's getting more and more difficult. What the military gives out to you, you will be able to know.
Like 8-9 years ago is when I started doing YouTube regularly. And one of the things I had said was, if India needs to progress, it needs to have its semiconductor fab story right. And also that it should start looking towards places where water, clean, fresh water is available in plenty. And I had identified Meghalaya as one area. And I'm very happy to see that last couple of years, India has seriously started looking at that. See, people will say, well, the manpower is all in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, and so on. How can we go and make a fab in Meghalaya? See, you build it and it will happen. It's much more important to have clean water, which you can process and use, rather than having the people to move. Much easier to do that way than the other way around. There are opportunities, are good paying jobs. They are going to.
I just support what you said. If the people from Northeast can come to Bengaluru, I'm sure people from Bengaluru can go to Northeast.
Can go there. Yeah. Traffic is mind-blowing nightmare in Bangalore. Zionist Comebacks wants to know, is there no investment in R&D? How do you expect us to grow in technology? General Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, I agree with him completely. You need to invest more. That's the single point thing. I don't want to discuss this also.
And
we are weak
when
in it, and
we say invest more, we are pointing the finger at the private companies.
Yeah. Thought Provocateur wants to know. Thank you, Thought Provocateur. So this is for you, Rajiv ji. With SIR, NRC, India's population could reduce to 1 billion plus per capita income could double and national security situation could improve significantly.
That's open to question. How much will go down? How much will not be there? You will still be about 130, 140 crores. So let us be very clear on that. Even NRC, SIR, at best maybe. So anything between 130 to 140 crores you'll still have. And the other people, if you think, if you expect what is there on the social media chatter that they are 10 crores so much and 5 crores so much, how are you going to move them out even if they are there? Can you please tell me? It's not so easy. And that's why the Raksha Mantri, the Home Minister had made the statement when the issue had come up of NRC, that we are not going to send them back. It is physically going to be impossible to deport all those people back. We will give them work permits. They are already.
That's what you want to be able to convert them into. Correct.
Yes,
correct.
Work permit, and so that they don't vote. So it is going to be that. I would leave it at that. This is going to pan out over the next 2-3 years. That's when you'll be able to grasp it. But if the per capita income, if you, like I said, you're going to tier 2, 3, 4 cities, if they also start earning well, then automatically your per capita income would increase.
Next question, General Ravi Shankar, it's for you. Thought provocateur again. Thank you so much, sir. Trump be told trade AC is dormant, read KYC needed.
Good one.
BLYIT is 464. Thank you so much. General, what are your thoughts on Wagner PMC, private military contractor? Question to both of you. Yeah.
Same as what is that, Blackwater and all the other Halliburton and all those guys. It's the same, yeah. That's what they use. Pakistan has JEM, LET and all those people. These people have all these. These are the state-sponsored ones who will go, and you have a degree of deniability. They're quietly operating all these places. So why Wagner only? That chap, what was his name? Pirozhin tried to get too big for his boots, so he was eliminated. Pirozhin. So now they are working. So they are the state-sponsored ones. Like you have Halliburton, you have Blackwater, and you have so many of them. Every one of them. There used to be an author, Wilbur Smith. He used to write on Africa.
Wilbur Smith. Yeah.
Please read those books. It is fiction based on facts. Most of the people who are there, those days used to be called mercenaries. Today we don't call them mercenaries. We call them private military contractors. Only the name has changed. The task is the same. Same with, we call them terrorists. They are paid mercenaries. Only about 10, 15, max 20% maybe ideologues who are there. Rest are all paid mercenaries. That's why I lump them also together with these.
Next one, please. General Ravi Shankar, this is for you. Ashish wants to know, bullet train project when completed by 2029, if scaled to many more parts by 2035, will this be a GDP multiplier?
See, all these are in future. It has to happen. Speed of travel has to reduce. You need more modes of travel. As our economy, becomes bigger, as our population increases, as more number of people get on to higher level of functioning and not labor in a particular area, they have to be mobile. So all this you'll need. It's a matter of necessity. Naturally, it will be a GDP multiplier. I'll give you an example. In fact, yesterday, I must tell all of you, I took my grandson for a ride in the Chennai metro. Okay. Now, we had to stand. We had to stand in the metro for a seat. Okay. Now, 4 years, 5 years back when this metro started, there was no one in the metro. But today it's changed. And in Chennai, it's till recently we had 2 lines. 4 more lines are coming up at simultaneously. Just think 5 years hence, what will be the shape of Chennai metro with 7 lines crisscrossing each other with a grid. And my bet is that that also will be less. So this bullet train is, we are probably a decade late. Look at it a decade hence. I go with you. You have to have more. You have to think more. You have to think big.
See,
Next one, please.
I'll just add further. The bullet trains will connect your commercial nodes. There will be new commercial nodes coming up all over the country, the commercial hubs. That is when the bullet train will become profitable. Not like China bullet train to nowhere. That doesn't become profitable. The only profitable link they have is Shanghai to Beijing. So if they have created those nodes and you move them, then it will be. So that is why the first one has been taken between Ahmedabad and Mumbai. Because these are the two huge commercial hubs that you have, and it links the various small commercial hubs coming through along that line. So that is how you are going to plan it and should plan and expand.
Next one, please. SB Sarkar wants to know, good evening, sir. What policies are required to neutralize the 0.5 of India and bring them into mainstream? And this is out of syllabus. Like, we can skip it, sir.
No, let me put it this way. I've done a program with General Kandare. Okay, everyone asked this question to me, and hence I did this program. I would like to put across to everyone, I didn't even get 1,000 views on that. Everyone asked me this question, but they're not prepared to listen to the answers. So I would suggest have a look at that.
Thank you, sir. Next question, General Rajiv. BLYAT, thank you so much. How can HAL be fixed? Should PSUs get privatized?
It is already done. It's corporatized, and it will happen. HAL also, there is a revamp which is on. It is going to be broken up into few separate wings. So that work is on. The corporatization of these. Your ordnance factories have already got corporatized. They have till next year. And after that, there is no capex. At the moment, only capex is being given by the government to them. They were given a 5-year term. I think 26 or 27 it finishes. After that, they are on their own. They have to generate their own capital, their own scale. And so for which they have to be competitive in the open market. So all that which used to happen earlier in acquisitions, that you have to give it to PSU, that, he's going to compete with the private sector. And he has to be up and about with this technology. And same thing, I think HL will also go through. And you have some of these companies like other DPSUs which are there, they're doing very well. BDL, BEL and all, they're doing very well. It is some which are lagging behind, which you need to pull them up. So let's not paint everybody with the same brush.
Same brush, right. Nix 544, thank you so much for your donation. General Rajiv, sir, if we cannot remove them, but can't we revoke the voting rights of these illegal immigrants?
That's what I said. You give them work permit. Work permit doesn't give you any voting right. You can't even buy any assets. All assets gets frozen.
Yeah.
You can't buy property, nothing. Sorry. You're only going to be in the rented apartment and you have no voting rights. You have work permit to work. That's it.
Sir, one of the things that has come up recently in the United States is something very similar to what you just said. H-1Bs could actually apply for home loans. I'm hearing that has now been revoked. I need to double check that. that would be sad, because these days it's taking 100 years for somebody to get a green card, assuming they start their H1B journey today. It's a joke, basically. And as to why you would do this thing, because somebody who has put down roots, they have their own roof over their heads. That's going to make them more financially
Not only
responsible.
that, the realty sector in USA is very different. People prefer to buy the house rather than rent and stay.
So that is the Chinese millionaire from a mid-level company, a mid-level city, sir. Most people have to, they are they can only come up with 10%. That too, if their parents are here and they can help out. Today's generation, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen 2000, all those millennials and all those people, right? Buying a house is just a dream. Trump is suggesting a 50-year loan now, just like a 30-year mortgage, 50-year mortgage, 50. So it's just getting really, really difficult. And many who have bought houses for investment, now they are seriously trying to shed them, because everybody sees that suddenly it's going to dry up. I'll tell you one honest fact of admission here. We'll wind up right after this. Is the last question. Honest fact. You take areas like New England, like Boston area, Bay Area, San Francisco, LA area, Seattle, and so on, where there is a feeling that there's going to be a lot of commercial activity. The commercial property, like strip malls, they call them strip malls, because like five, 6 buildings will be there, and they'll be catering to the local community around. There'll be a massage place, there'll be a dentist, there'll be a fast food center, and so on and so forth. I would say about 90% of them are owned by mainland Chinese. 90%, 90. And so what happened to the people who used to own them? US has infrastructurally weakened itself so much. And even if you pour money into US, it has lost about 20 years of expertise in doing things that it used to do, whether it is plastics as an industry or even armaments. Today, even if Trump says, I'll buy an made in America product, if you do everything from ground up, you can't. That's why I keep telling, swallow your pride, make up with India. And because India is a responsible country, it doesn't do stupid things like the way its neighbors do. And that's how you can at least get this thing, you won't crash land. You will come down gently, and you will be able to sustain yourself. I don't know, it keeps falling on deaf ears, but at least I'll have the satisfaction. I saw this thing happening. I'm telling you, this is what needs to be done. We'll see how it goes, sir. Thank you once again, gentlemen. And India still has a long ways to go. It needs to improve its basic education a lot. Every engineer that comes out doesn't really know much about engineering. The sad fact, again, one line, sir. You have to listen to Narayan Murthy when he was still, I think he had just gone public, 1990s. He had said that we just bring engineers in. It takes 6 months for us to bring them into a product that's useful for the company. That 6-month training that they believed that's what imparted them to be, marketable as a resource to the world. Why did he say that? Because there is so much disparity in the educational institutions, and what comes out. Don't look at IIT, sir. You guys are blessed. IITs get the creme de la creme.
That is why I made a point, not just about IIT. Fine, Narayan Murthy said this in the 90s. Has he till today approached anyone and said, this is what I want you to teach?
But
You can complain till the cows come home. Then you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. That is the problem with our private sector.
At the end of the day, the Wipro, Infosys and all have become sweatshops.
Yes.
No commitment to society. Okay? They have not put it back into the society.
Why is he not spoken to them till date that this is what we want, this is what we like to change your syllabi and bring these things in? Then you'd have got the people, trained people.
Why has he not invested into R&D?
Yes, 996 he calls it. 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night for 6 days in a week. Is he living in a fool's paradise? That's why I underline that he again and again underlining Infosys is a sweatshop. That's how sweatshops work.
Thank you so much, sir. I think this is something that we need to talk separately also. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be discussed. And as always, sir, first of all, my pranams to General Rajiv Narayanan for stepping in at such a short notice. He had only like 1.5 hours to prepare for this. And General Ravi Shankar, you and I, we worked on this for a couple of days. In fact, we were not sure we will last the distance today because of the prevailing cyclone conditions in Chennai. Thank you once again, gentlemen. We'll see you soon. Namaskar. Both of you on Thursday. Namaskar.
Yes.